Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Loud and proud from Starehe Boys Center, we're in Nairobi region for the Great Debaters Contest, Austin Nyambok.
And Mariam Bishar. Today's debate is immensely controversial. We have Makini School going versus Parklands boys. Should superpowers run the affairs of the world? We'll let them take the stage now. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
I am Makau Martin from Parklands Boys High School, strongly proposing the motion that says superpowers should be allowed to run the world affairs. So, as we all know, there are a lot of superheroes with different strengths, different powers, and some of them are quite big. Now, these abilities are the same as in the super countries. Now, we look at the meaning of superpower. When we say a superpower, it actually means a very powerful country, especially the one that can take control and strongly influence in other countries. Now, what affairs are we talking about? We are talking about affairs like education, moral values, industrialization, trade, unity among the people. Now, on the first one, that is education. We compare the education system of Kenya and that of the USA. That is an example of a superpower. For example, that one in Kenya, we can say that the education system is very tiresome and very, very complex. It is a very wide one when we look at it. But when we look at the USA system of education, it starts nurturing talents and abilities at the young, tender ages. That's why when one is actually through with school, they are able to do something on their own. That is because of their education system. When we come to Kenya, it is very hard to start something on your own. Why? Because of the complexity of the education. It is so much bulky that it is even very hard for one to actually apply the concept they have learned. The other one is about unity. Superpower countries are coming up with organizations that help promote unity among people. For example, the United Nations organization. That one is an organization that was brought up by a superpower to actually help bring about unity among the people. Another examples of these organizations, there are organizations that help these countries with food, uniting people. These are what we need as these countries. We need superpowers to take control of these affairs. The other affair we talk about is on moral values. We see superpowers in olden times. We used to have the traditional practices. Let's say, for example, in religion, we had the practice of human sacrifices. But they came up with superpowers, which came up with Christianity that develops human values. Thank you.
Opposition, time for your opening remarks. You have 3 minutes.
Representing Makini School, my name is Cynthia Nderitu, and I'm here to strongly oppose the motion that states superpowers should be allowed to run the affairs of the world. What affairs are these we're talking about? I talk about the cultural degradation. Superpowers have the ability to strongly influence the culture that is practiced by many countries in the world, most especially the lowly developed ones. There is cultural degradation as a result of the coming of the superpowers to various countries in forms such as my dress, my choice. I don't think any of our parents would be happy with us walking down the streets and while displaying indecency of any kind. Take, for example, the rape cases that have been happening and the stripping cases that have been happening. These evils have come as a result of temptation from the opposite sex, which is only caused as a result of the display of indecency, which is against our culture. Second, lifestyle diseases have been coming and have been more common nowadays as a result of the kind of foods we eat. As Africans, children and the elderly are brought up with foods that are organic, such as the sweet potatoes, the arrowroots, the kales, the spinach, and everything. Take, for example, in United States, organic food is far more expensive than the fast foods that are found on the streets. Take, for example, KFC. They have so much nutritional content that poses a threat to our nutrition, which is wrong. Thank you.
We'll hear rebuttals now. Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barongo Maina representing Parklands Boys High School, and I strongly propose this motion that says superpowers should be allowed to run world affairs. I'd like to ask my sister over here a question. How comes superpowers, one of the superpower nations, are the one responsible for bringing the Bible in this country? Britain, they brought us the Bible. They taught us Christianity. They came, they opposed female genital mutilation. They opposed human sacrifices. They opposed a lot of very, very many activities that Africans were doing that actually they were undermining human rights. So I don't see any way that these superpowers they are corrupting our morals. And first of all, if I want to dress the way I want, that's something that I've decided myself. Yeah, the superpowers, they brought us the Bible, but they did not tell us, hey, Natasha, can you put on a bikini? No, actually, it does not even make any sense. Then you can say something like, they are making food in the laboratories. Actually, the meat that is made in the laboratories of the United States, this meat has proteins. Actually, it's just like meat from a cow. These superpower nations, actually, in the 21st century, it has been noted that states which abuse human rights, they threaten neighbors. Example, they're sponsoring terrorism and building weapons of mass destruction. They cannot be allowed to get away with the evil because these superpowers, the resources they have, give it legitimacy to confront drug stations. And necessary, they will even intervene to stop them. The knowledge, and some recent years, the knowledge that Western Korea and Libya learned that the United States cannot let us do this. That's why they stopped. And that's why right now Libya and Western Korea, they've changed ways in which makes the world safer for everyone. So please, let us support these superpowers. In the world of today, actions are taken upon anyone, any leader, any country, any organization that tries to undermine human rights, any organization, any leader, anyone that tries to deny any human's rights. So I don't see any reason that a superpower nation can come into Kenya. First of all, if we allow them to run our affairs, it means that they will be our government. It means that they will be under us. So whatever we want, that's what the government of Kenya will provide. If we let the superpowers take over us, they will be our government. Whatever we want, that is what they will provide for us. Thank you very much.
We'll hear the opposition's rebuttal. You also have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Makini School, my name is Rachel Mwaniki. I'm here to oppose the motion that states superpowers, should be allowed to run world affairs. First of all, I'd like to emphasize on the word run. They are running our affairs. Running our affairs means they're controlling our political, social, economic affairs, everything. Then again, I'd like to emphasize on the fact that help is very, very different from control. Control means they'll dictate whatever we say. What they say is the law. And I'd like to correct my dear opposer when he said that the Bible is the one that eradicated FGM. It's the Constitution of Kenya that eradicated FGM in the country, not the Bible. And I'd like to say that we have evolved from these primitive practices of human sacrifice and FGM. We have evolved from there. We're no longer there, so you cannot use it to compare. Also, I'd like to state that superpowers, if they are allowed to run our affairs, will undermine the African currency. Research has shown that less developed countries, such as ourselves in Kenya, do not need more money or more capital to expand our growth and to develop our standard of living. Less developed countries have gathered more than $800 billion in debt, which they have used in not bettering ourselves, but which has been used on corrupt leaders. Tell me, do we really need more money just to waste it on people who are just improving their standards of living and leaving the rest of us languishing in poverty? I'd also like to state that superpowers coming to control our affairs will lead to destruction of the natural habitat of living things due to exploitation of minerals such as our oil, our diatomite, our fluorspar, and also our forests. Our forests will be used in their industries, and this will lead to deforestation, which will lead to poor climate. I'd also like to state that superpowers running our affairs will lead to afflicting of the democracy of the countries they rule. It will dictate the affairs and hinder the less developed countries' ability to make their own decisions, vote for their own leaders, and decide what they want to do. So no, I strongly oppose the motion that states superpowers should be allowed to run our affairs. Thank you.
We're getting money like supposed to be, sending money like supposed to be, saving money like supposed to be, cause that's how M-Pesa is supposed to be. Oh, what are you supposed to mean? Saying M-Pesa is not supposed to be. Oh, supposed to be. That's such as supposed to be.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The proposition have been asked, will we not be allowing moral degradation into our society if we allow superpowers to run our affairs? And the opposition have been challenged, where was the intervention of the superpowers before the constitution came in to outlaw things such as FGM? They'll be responding shortly. Proposal number 3, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Oscar Diambo from Parklands Boys. I'm strongly proposing this motion that says superpower countries should be allowed to run the world affairs. First of all, I'll talk about what she has just said, pornography. How does pornography affect you? Bring pornography over here. Okay, I accept, and I'm an African. We'll talk about African is a community, but how does pornography really affect you when us as Africans, we need security. These superpower countries have a military prowess and advantages over us. If we join up with these superpower countries, we won't be facing insecurity such as the Al-Shabaab who came, attacked innocent creatures. 142 students were killed in Garissa. Second, economic wealth. They have money. These people, if we come up together with them, they will help us they'll help us economically. You get that they'll strengthen our economically. They supply their stocks and arsenals. Their weapons, they give them to us. And thirdly, what superpowers have they have technologies which is just off the hook. Technology, when you come to technology, how will it be without a computer? How will it be without a microphone? First of all, I'm very impressed by how Austin Yambok stands here to say that get us on our platforms media, which is Twitter, Facebook. If we could not have such things, how would it be? Many of people get money, they get income out of their social life. Recently, there were some people who are being aired on TV. Because of what? Because of their social life. Thirdly, how about these people have trade? Trade is a major thing. These people come up with a country like Japan is known for its cars. How will it be without cars? How will it be without technology, without these industries? How will it be? Please, people, let us get down into this thing and accept the superpowers to run our world affairs. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
I go by the name of Peter Kitavi, and I am here to oppose and to answer the question asked. You asked us how the Constitution, where the Constitution was before this superpowers came to rule us. We are not refusing the superpowers have helped us. All we do not want is for them to run the affairs of our country. Secondly, I will completely like to oppose your notion that pornography does not affect us. What if your teachers watched pornography? Will they be viewing girls as a sex toy, and they will be asking girls for sexual favors for results? Don't you think so? Secondly, I would like to add on to this, that superpowers will force us to assimilate to their ways, to their immoral behaviors, to their unconstitutional ways. For instance, you may ask, this issue on homosexuality, wasn't it brought by this superpowers? Wasn't it? It was. That's why I'm telling you people, we must stick to our African culture and let Africans be Africans. We are able to rule our own African affairs. Thirdly, they don't have the facts. They don't want to face reality of what is happening in villages. Look at, for example, places like Turkana and Garissa. People are eating dogs. We have not heard of any help going to them. We only hear of media coverage. No one has gone to help them. So when you tell us to bring the superpowers to help us run our affairs, that is diverting from what we believe, because we will not be able to help our own nation, because the superpowers will come and use us for our own goods. They will use us for our resources. They will use us to get what they want. They will be here because they have something to gain. They will be ignoring nations that do not have nothing to offer. For example, many nations have been fighting. I have not heard of any superpower going to help them if they do not have anything to offer. You see, that's why I'm telling you people, we must not let the superpowers guide or rule world affairs. Thank you.
We'll now hear closing statements. Proposers, you have a minute.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, my dear sister, it was a Kenyan who took Kenyan girls to Miami to act pornography. And the Bible that was brought was very clear of this behavior. It did not want this behavior. So when you tell us that Kenyan girls are going to Miami to act pornography, oh my God, who took them there? It was us Kenyans. But did Miami take any did Miami participate in any of it? Okay, they asked for the girls, but we gave them the girls. So, my dear sister, please, cool. Let's look at the case of Britain. When Britain came to Kenya, actually Kenya, we had no plan of going forward. We had no plan of development. We had no plan of moving. But when Britain came, they came with education. They came with new morals. Right now, Kenya, we cannot invent the wheel because the wheel was already invented and it was brought to us. We cannot develop any more education systems because it is already with us. Right now, Kenyans, we are educated because of these superpowers. Thank you very much.
Opposition, you also have a minute for your final submission.
I would like to begin by posing a question to the proposition. How, pray tell, does the Bible relate to running our affairs? We as present-day Kenya, we have the Bible. We have religion. We know what is right and we know what is wrong. How do you relate running our affairs to us not knowing the Bible? I'd like to give us an example. Superpowers come with an offer. Scratch our back, we scratch yours. We accept, as the naive Africans we are, they help us in education sector, health sector. Little by little, before we know it, they are running our affairs. Tell me, would we really like to be subject to a deal gone bad? Ladies and gentlemen, I beseech you, I implore you, please let us not fall under the spell of the superpowers. Let us come together and build our country as ourselves. Thank you.
Macau, you start us off okay. You know, you talk about education and you talk about how superpowers have a better education system than we do in this part of Africa. Barongo comes in and, you know, talks about female genital mutilation, and I have concerns about your language. Essentially, what I'm saying is that there's a better way of communicating than using words that are likely to sound, very insensitive, or words that are unpalatable with an audience such as this. And then, Oscar, you come in and your response to the question is wanting. There's a lot of emphasis on pornography, even, you know, when Barongo comes in to give the final submission, and I'm asking myself, what's the obsession with pornography? There is so much that we can talk about with regards to where we would require the superpowers to intervene. Makini, you come in, and what we want to hear from you is that superpowers shouldn't run the affairs of the world, and you should then contextualize why, your area of operation, which is Africa, and you're saying this is why we think that they shouldn't. You know, in as much as we have issues that require their intervention, we still feel that we are competent enough to run those affairs. And you offer suggestions to show that we can actually be able to deal with those issues without necessarily having the intervention of the superpowers. When you come on, Cynthia, you talk about culture. And you say that this is one area where, you know, if we let the superpowers run it, then there's likely to be degradation of the local cultures. Rachel, you come in and you're talking about political, socio-economic affairs, and I finally say, yes, somebody's getting it. But before we can run with it, you totally lose us again. Peter, you come in and your arguments, your response to the questions are a little wanting. You talk about if teachers watch porn, and you talk about that, and that's the emphasis. And I'm a little disappointed with that kind of argument, because do not lose focus, do not lose direction with regards to what you wanted to do. Essentially what we are saying is that when we come to debate motions such as this, let's avoid pedestrian arguments.
Parklands Boys High School, the judges awarded you with 53%. Please give them a hand. Makini School, the judges awarded you with 59%. Give them a hand as well.
Congratulations to the two teams for a spirited fight, and we'd like to send our gratitude to Safaricom M-Pesa and KBC Channel 1, urging members of the audience and also our viewers back home, follow us on Twitter at Great Debaters EA and all our social media platforms. I am Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. Keep watching the show.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.